starts like this. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite, Gokula Taruni Mandal Mahite, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite, Damodar Rati Vardhan Veshe, Hari Nishukut Vrindavit Deshe, Damodar Rati Vardhan Veshe, Hari Nishukut Vrindavit Deshe, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite, Vishubhanudadi Navashashilekhe, Lalita Sakhi Guna Ramita Vishakhe, Vishubhanudadi Navashashilekhe, Lalita Sakhi Guna Ramita Vishakhe, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite, Karuna Guru Mai Karuna Bharite, Sanat Sanatana Vanita Charite, Karuna Guru Mai Karuna Bharite, Sanak Sanatana Vanita Charite, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite, Gokula Taruni Mandal Mahite, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhav Daite, Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Shri Radhe. अनम्यूट करना पड़ता है, यहाँ भी अनम्यूट करना पड़ता है।
तो एक बार फिर से कर दो, फिर
नहीं होगा,
कर दो,
नहीं होगा, कोई बोला भी नहीं बीच में।
वहाँ पे तुम देखो ना म्यूट होती है।
यहाँ तो म्यूट कर दिया, सब जगह म्यूट कर दिए, वहाँ से भी म्यूट कर दिए, यहाँ से भी म्यूट कर दिए। ये से तो ऐसी कोई क्लास लेता है बोलो? रहने दो, अब क्लास शुरू कर देती हूँ। ये पता नहीं अनम्यूट है कि नहीं, इसका तो पता भी नहीं चलता है।
अनम्यूट कर रहा हूँ,
इसको अनम्यूट ही रखना
यहाँ
चाहिए।
से करो, यहाँ से।
हरी बोल। इको क्यों हो रहा है?
Hare Krishna.
Talk from there only. Talk from there, hear from there.
Okay, we'll do
Mangala Charan now.
You couldn't hear
the kirtan.
Why is it echoing?
Mataji, we can hear you now.
You can hear now? Now can you hear?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So we'll do the Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padana Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Mangalacharan Kiye Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshcha Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namye Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Niveshi Krishna Mangalacharan Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshcha Bhutale Srimate Jaya Pitaka Swami Niti Namye Namacharya Padayamitaye Kripa Padayamni Gaura Kripa Padayamni Vancha Kalpata Krishna Vikas Okay. So yeah, so that we had completed our Bhagavad Gita. So we will just do we will complete chapter 1 today, and I'll share the screen. Does anyone remember from where we stopped, which text it was? With the 20th verse. Can you see the screen? Okay. So the 20 so far we covered about how Dhritarashtra was inquiring to Sanjaya, and then we covered Duryodhana's fear. He was very scared that he will not win the battle, obviously because his side, Krishna was not there on his side, and Krishna was on the Pandava side. So Duryodhana was very fearful from inside. And as we had discussed in the last class, that devotees are always without any fear. If we are scared, then actually we don't have much faith in Krishna. And this is my personal experience. After practicing Krishna consciousness, the first thing which manifests in our life is that we don't get scared. Fear goes away. But here Duryodhana was very scared. Why? Because he was not a devotee. He was not having faith in Krishna. As we know, he took Krishna's army, not Krishna himself, but Arjuna took Krishna himself, because he knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and if Krishna is with me, then I don't need to worry. So that was Duryodhana's fear. That was from the 2nd verse till the 11th verse. Okay, and then from the 12th to the 19th, we heard about the different conch shells. We saw that Krishna's conch shell was Panchajanya, then Arjuna's was Devadatta, Bhima's was Pondra, Yudhishthir's conch shell name is Ananta Vijaya, Nakula's conch shell is Sughosha, and Sahadeva's conch shell is Manipushpaka. So we should remember these conch shells because the names of these conch shells will, if we remember these things, if we remember the scriptures, then it helps us in remembering Krishna. Because it's said that our scriptures are directly a manifestation of the Lord's mercy. Especially the Bhagavad Gita is coming from Krishna's mouth directly. So we see that these verses, these things, these small things also, if we just remember these things, we can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead in our memories, and that will actually help us in remembering Krishna when we eventually leave our bodies. Then after that, 17th and 18th verse, we saw how Sanjay informed Dhritarashtra very tactfully that that there are already signs that indicate that the Kuru dynasty would be killed. Signs means, what were the signs that showed that Arjuna was, the Pandavas are going to win? And that is the 20th verse, when Arjuna starts observing the armies. He took up his bow and he prepared to shoot arrows after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in military array. The battle was about to begin. So here we see this verse. We will go very smoothly, very swiftly. So this verse is अथ व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा धार्तराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वज प्रवृत्ते शस्त्रसम्पाते धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवः ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् इदम् आह महीपते. The translation says, at that time Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Krishna these words. So here we see that the battle was just about to begin. And the first thing which we observe is that there on the flag on which on the chariot on which Arjuna was sitting, the flag had the emblem of Hanuman, Kapi Dhwaja. Kapi here means Kapi here means, you can see in the synonyms, Prabhupada writes over here, Kapi Dhwaja, he whose flag was marked with Hanuman. Kapi means, Kapi actually means monkey. So Hanuman, Kapi means Lord Hanuman. So the emblem of Hanuman is another sign of victory for Arjuna, because Hanuman helped Lord Rama to be victorious over Ravana. So Lord Krishna who is Lord Krishna? He is Lord Ram himself. So Lord Krishna is Rama himself, and thus his eternal servitor Hanuman and his eternal consort Sita, goddess of fortune, were also present with Arjuna now. So gradually we will observe over here that how Arjuna, how the Pandavas were winning. The first thing we see is that the flag on the chariot on which Arjuna was sitting, that flag had the emblem which had the symbol of Hanuman. Hanuman means victory. Why? Because Lord Rama was victorious when he fought with Ravana. So here also the indication of the presence of the symbol of Hanuman indicates victory. This is the first sign of victory which we see over here. Now we go on with the conversation that Arjuna began with Krishna. Arjun Uvacha means when Arjuna says, Senayor madhye ratham sthapayamechyuta yavad yetan niriksheham yodhu kaman avasthitan kerma maya saha yodhavyam asmin rana samudyame. So Arjuna says over here, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies, so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. So we have to observe over here that Krishna is called Achyuta. In so many verses, Arjuna addresses Krishna by different names, and we must always try to remember or point out why Krishna is being addressed with this name. So here he is called Achyuta. Achyuta means one who never fails in his affection for his devotees and takes pleasure in serving them. So here, as a charioteer, Krishna was driving the chariot of Arjuna, so he was the charioteer. As a charioteer, as a Sarathi, Krishna was carrying out Arjuna's order without hesitation. Yet, in all circumstances, his supreme position remains intact. Krishna never fails. Achyuta, he is someone who never fails in anything he does, because he is the supreme personality of Godhead. So he never fails in his affection towards his devotees also, because his love towards his devotees is so deep and strong. So here Arjuna is being addressed as Achyuta. So Krishna is being Krishna is being addressed as Achyuta. So Arjuna tells Krishna that Krishna, please take my chariot in the middle of the two armies, so that I can see who desire to fight, wishing to please the evil mind of Dhritarashtra, and with whom I must fight. So this is how Arjuna tells Krishna, and then Krishna takes the chariot. As a charioteer, he takes the chariot, and then Arjuna says, let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Yotsyamanaan aveksheham ya etetra samagataha dhartarashtrasya durbuddher yuddhe priya chikirshavah. So Arjuna is just seeing, and here Sanjay Uvacha means Sanjay is this whole thing. The conversation of Krishna and Arjuna is being actually narrated by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra. So there are two scenes like over here. If you see in a play format, one is Krishna and Arjuna, and then another scene is Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya. Because Sanjaya could see what is happening, because he had those powers which he got from his guru Vyasadeva. So Sanjaya was looking at what was happening like a television screen. It was there through the siddhas, through the powers which he had got from his guru, and he was narrating the whole thing. So here Sanjaya says these things to Dhritarashtra. What he says, Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. We go to the next verse. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold, Partha, all the crews assembled here. So then Krishna takes Arjuna in the middle of the two armies. The two armies were standing like this, and then Krishna took the chariot in the middle, and then he tells to Arjuna that you can now observe the two armies. And then what happens? There Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies of both parties his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his father-in-law and well-wishers. So this is what Arjuna is seeing. When the son of Kunti, Arjuna, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. What now Arjuna says? Arjuna sees these things, and he says to Krishna that, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. So this is what happens to Arjuna. He is overwhelmed with emotions due to the attachment to his family members. He says, Arjuna Uvacha Drishtve mam svajanam Krishna yuyutsum samupashtitam siddhanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishusyati. So we'll see the synonyms of this verse because it's very interesting. Just see what words Arjuna use. Siddhanti. Siddhanti means my limbs are quivering. His limbs were shaking, quivering. Mama, my, gatrani, limbs of the body. Mama, Siddhanti, mama, gatrani. See the condition of Arjuna, who is very brave, who is a Kshatriya. He holds the bow called Kandiva, and he has killed so many great, warriors. But look at the condition what he is in now. His limbs are quivering and his mouth is drying up. Mukham cha parishushyati. Parishushyati means it's drying up. What is this? Why is this happening? It is because of his deep attachment to his family members. But we should remember over here that Arjuna is a pure devotee of the Lord, and here Arjuna's condition is this is in this thing. It's a leela of Krishna, because Krishna uses his pure devotees as instruments so that we can learn something from observing them. And actually, at the present scenario, in the contemporary times, we are also in this battlefield of Kurukshetra, and our battle is with Maya, and our condition is also like Arjuna. Our limbs are quivering and our mouth is drying up, meaning that we also can get swayed away by the allurements of Maya, and we have to be very strong. But what happens? We are unable to be so strong all the time. That is when we should read the Bhagavad Gita, and that is why the Bhagavad Gita was spoken over here. So, from this 28 to 46 is the Arjuna's reasons not to fight. So, 20 to 27 was Arjuna observes the army. And also, I would like to mention over here in the previous verses, Arjuna was called Gudakesha and Krishna was called Rishikesha. So if we see Gudakesha means one who conquered sleep. One who conquered sleep. So if we see the previous verse, from where was this word used? 26. Why is he called Gudakesha? So we will see here. I think in this verse it was.
It's in 24.
Yeah, in 24. Here. Thank you. So here we will see Arjuna is called Gudakesha. Gudakesha is one who has won over his sleep. Gudaka. Gudaka is a Sanskrit word which means sleep. So what happens? Sleep is it means ignorance. Sleep is synonymous with ignorance. So when we are very sleepy, we are actually in the mode of ignorance, and that is why Srila Prabhupada always said that devotees should not sleep more than 5 or maximum 6 hours. If we exceed the 6 hours, then we get into the mode of ignorance. Out of the 3 modes, goodness, passion and ignorance, if we sleep too much, then actually we are in the mode of ignorance. So what happened over here? Why is Arjuna called Gudakesha? Because Arjuna had conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his absorption in the remembrance of the beauty and qualities of his close friend Krishna. Arjuna is a devotee, and all the devotees are especially pure devotees. Those who are very very pure, like our Maharaj, the Maharaj of all the Maharajas of ISKCON, like they are in the level of pure devotees. They are Uttama Bhakta. So what happens? They have also won over their sleep and ignorance. Srila Prabhupada, we will see Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee, and Srila Prabhupada was just sleeping for 2.5 hours when he was in Vrindavan writing the translation of Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto. He was just sleeping for a couple of hours, and whole day, whole night he was just translating. He had won over his sleep because of his pure devotion to Krishna. So here Arjuna is called Gudakesha because he had conquered sleep, and Krishna is called Rishikesha. Here Rishikesha. Here Krishna is called Rishikesha because Rishikesha is one who is controlling all his senses. Rishikesha means the controller of all his senses. So Krishna is called Rishikesha because he could understand the mind of Arjuna. Krishna understands all of our minds. So here Krishna understands Arjuna's mind. Although Krishna is the controller of everyone's senses, he is now controlled by Arjuna's words because of his deep devotion to his devotees. Krishna is called Bhakta Vatsalya. So Krishna comes under the control of his pure devotees. Although he is Rishikesha, he can control all his senses, but now at the present moment he is being controlled by the words of his devotee Arjuna. And again Krishna calls Arjuna as Partha. In the next verse you will see in verse number 27, I think 28, in verse number 28, where Arjuna is called Arjuna here Uvacha Partha Pashyetan. So you can also write this over here. The Lord says to Arjuna as Partha because he is the son of Pritha or Kunti, the sister of his father Vasudeva. So as a friend he had agreed to be Arjuna's charioteer, but now by saying, behold the Kurus, he predicted Arjuna's mind of giving up fighting in joking. So here Krishna is actually, because Krishna and Arjuna, they were in Sakhyam, and they were in Sakhyam Rasa, means they were friends. So when Krishna took the chariot in the middle of the two armies, he is kind of joking to Arjuna, and he just said that just behold Partha, all the Kurus are assembled over here. So he was kind of joking with Arjuna that you will see the vast army over here and you will give up fighting. So he was in the mode of kind of when we joke with a friend, so how we address him or her. So Krishna actually calls him as Partha. Why Partha is mentioned over here? This is the first time Partha is coming, and we should know why Arjuna is being called over here Partha, because he is the son of Pritha. Pritha is Queen Kunti. Queen Kunti's another name is Pritha. Okay. So now we will start with the 28th verse, and these verses just give us a glimpse of the reasons of Arjuna why he did not want to fight. And we will see that there are basically 5 reasons why he did not want to fight. The first reason will come in 28, 29 and 30th verse, where Arjuna had compassion for his friends and relatives. And then after that, from 31 to 35, you will see that he doesn't wanted to take enjoy, like he said that okay Krishna, I will win, but what is the benefit of that winning? After killing so many people, I will enjoy. So he had that kind of thing, like he was thinking in terms of emotions. He was overwhelmed with his attachment towards his family members. The third reason was he was scared of committing sins, killing so many people. He said, I will do mass killing. So that's a big sin. So how can I do such a heinous thing? And then destruction of family traditions. Again, because of his deep, he was being attached to his family. So he was just scared that I will kill all my family members, all my ancestors who have helped me so far in my life. And then the 41st verse, he is very indecisive. He is not able to decide what he wants to do. So the first reason is, gradually we will break down now these reasons with the verses, and we will try to understand what were the reasons. So the first reason was comparison for relatives and the resultant bodily symptoms. What happened to Arjuna? So he says to Krishna that seeing his friends and relatives before him in such a fighting spirit, the limbs of his body is quivering. Let's read this verse. Arjuna uvacha drishtve svajanam Krishna yuyutsam samupasthitam sidanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishusyati vepatuscha sharire me romaharshascha jayate gandivam shramsate hastat tvakchaiva paridahyate. So what happened? Last verse we said 2 things. His body, the limbs of his body were quivering, and his mouth was drying up. Now my whole body is trembling. My hair is standing on end. My bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand and my skin is burning. So basically there are 8 things which happens to the body of 9 things, 8 things which happen to the body of Arjuna. Okay. The first thing which happens is the limbs of his body is quivering. This is the first thing. The second thing is the mouth is drying up. The third thing is his whole body is trembling. The fourth is his hairs are standing out. Standing out means he is getting nervous. When we become very nervous or when we get scared, this thing happens. Like I remember when I was very small, I was scared of darkness. Whenever somebody puts off all the lights, I used to panic. So at that time, some of these things would like come up. We will start shaking. Then we gulp our saliva like this. This means my mouth is drying up. We do this when exams are very near and we are not prepared. These things happen. So these actually shows that our body gives us the signal that we are not very comfortable. We are scared or we are anxious or these things. So his hair was standing on end. Then his Gandiva bow is slipping from his hand. Why? Because of sweat. His hands and legs, he was perspiring. So the bow was slipping from his hand. His skin is burning. The skin is burning means he was feeling. This happens when you must have felt when we become filled up with emotions, overwhelming with emotions, something warm kind of thing comes over here. So that means the skin feels like it's burning. The skin burns. So this was happening. Then next verse he says, न च शक्नोम्यवस्थातुं भ्रमत्वा च मे मनः निमित्तानि च पश्यामि विपरीतानि केशव. He says, I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune. O Krishna, killer of the Keshi dinner. So the seventh thing is he is unable to stand there any longer. He cannot take in anymore. His body is showing signs of fear. And then he is forgetting himself and his mind is reeling. Forgetting himself means he is not able to remember himself. These things were happening to Arjuna as why? Because of his compassion towards his relatives. Not because of that fear which Duryodhan was feeling. Duryodhan's fear was the fear of defeat because he was taking the side of adharma. That was another fear. This fear is actually compassion because as devotees we don't want to do any kind of killing. We don't even kill a mosquito, right? So as devotees, a devotee is always very compassionate because he sees Krishna in every little creature. So Arjuna was a devotee, so it was very natural for him to feel these things. He doesn't want to kill anyone, but still he had to do because it was Krishna's will and because he was a Kshatriya. A soldier in the army, he has to go out and kill to protect the country nowadays. So that is a Kshatriya. A Kshatriya is one who protects people from Kshat. Kshat means harm. Kshatriya means one who protects the people from any kind of harm. So Arjuna was a Kshatriya and he had to do this, but he wasn't able to because he was also a devotee. He was telling this to Krishna because he was feeling very compassionate to his soldiers and to the soldiers of the Kauravas because of his soft-heartedness, which is a characteristic of a pure devotee. By Krishna's, I will point out over here so that we don't forget that here Arjuna is a pure devotee and all these things are happening to him because of Krishna's will. Arjuna is showing ignorance of his real self-interest to satisfy the Supreme Lord. Krishna wanted him to act like this, so he is acting like that. Whatever Krishna wants, the devotees fulfill that. Even if the devotee has to become an enemy of the Lord, even then the devotees take up that particular task, that particular seva, and they do that. Like Hiranyakashipu, they were actually devotees, but they became Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. Why? For the pleasure of the Lord, because the Lord wanted to fight with them. So that is what the devotee does. He is always in the mode of service. So here Arjuna is executing these kind of bodily signs, bodily symptoms, and he was actually doing his duty of executing the will of Krishna. He displayed impatience, weakness of mind, excessive attachment for material things, all these things. Why? Because this was Krishna's will. Krishna put him in that kind of a situation. When we are not devotees, we are puppets in the hands of Maya. But when we become devotees, we become puppets in the hands of Krishna. And that's why Srila Prabhupada has written in his song, Nachao, Nachao, you make me dance, you make me dance. Make me dance means I am your puppet. You make me dance. So Arjuna was actually executing Krishna's will. And that is why he was showing these signs of bodily symptoms. So from the 31st verse, we will see the second reason. So the first reason is compassion. The second reason is forcing no enjoyment in victory. So Arjuna says that I will kill so many people and after that I will get victory. But what is the use of that kind of a victory? How can I be so bad? How can I be so cruel that I will rejoice after killing so many people? So what he says, Na cha shreyo nupashyami hatva swajanam ahave na kankshe vijayam Krishna na cha rajyam sukhani cha. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom or happiness. So, a Kshatriya requires a kingdom for his subsistence, and as a Kshatriya, Arjuna had to do that. But Arjuna lost interest in fighting because he was a devotee. He was being very, very compassionate, very merciful. The second quality of a devotee is that they are very merciful. So Arjuna was like, how can I rejoice on someone's death? How can I celebrate my victory after killing so many people? So, and then he says, what is the pleasure without relatives? So he is becoming attached to his relatives. What he says that, oh Krishna, what is the use of a kingdom, happiness or life? You see, this one, subsequent victory, kingdom or happiness. He says that, what will I do of the kingdom which I get, of the happiness which I'll get, of the victory which I'll get, when I don't have my kinsmen with whom I can share that? When we have friends, we get something, like even if there is a small piece of cake or anything like that, what we do, we divide it amongst our friends and we share. So Arjuna says, I'll get victory, I'll become victorious, but with whom will I share the happiness of my victory? With whom will I share? Because I will kill all my kinsmen. So he was being very, very kind of grief-stricken, that how can I enjoy and with whom will I share my happiness? And again, over here, you will see Krishna is called Govinda from the 32nd to the 35th verse, where Arjuna says, O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? So you just see the depth of Arjuna's mercy, the depth of Arjuna's compassion. And here Arjuna is called as, Krishna is called as Govinda. Why? Because Krishna knows everything. So there is Govinda. Govinda is formed from two words, Go and Vinda. So one meaning of Govinda is Go means cow, and Govinda means Krishna, one who Krishna loves cows. So Govinda. But another meaning of Govinda is Go means senses, and Vindati means one who knows. So Krishna knows the function of everyone's senses. That is why he is called Govinda. Govinda. So here what happens? Arjuna calls Krishna as Govinda because Arjuna is expecting Krishna to know his mind. So Arjuna says, "Oh Govinda," means, "Oh Krishna, you know what is going on in my mind. So why don't you understand that I don't want to fight and I don't want to kill so many people because I don't want to be so cruel." So he addresses Krishna as Govinda. So Arjuna says this, that he won't be able to enjoy properly because his relatives won't be there. With whom is he going to share what he wins? And then again Arjuna calls Krishna Janardana, because if they are to be killed, then Krishna, who descended to relieve the earth of its burden, should kill them. Krishna, being the Supreme Lord, need not suffer the effects of sin in killing them also. Actually, what had happened over here, we should remember that Krishna had already killed them before their coming into the battlefield, and Arjuna was only an instrument for Krishna. We have to remember this again and again. A devotee does not retaliate against the wrongdoer, but the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. So, Prabhupada keeps on making us remember, he keeps on reminding us that all these things are happening. Arjuna is exhibiting these kind of things and he's saying these words, but that doesn't mean that he was really scared. He was really scared. So again we have to remember that Arjuna was put into such kind of a situation because it was Krishna's will. It was not the battle of Kurukshetra. It was not a manifestation of retaliation, revenge. Not at all. It was a manifestation of the will of the Lord, because the Lord wanted that to happen, and Arjuna was just an instrument in executing the will of the Lord. So this was the second reason, that he was being very emotional and very he just don't want to enjoy everything all alone. He wants to share his victory with his relatives, but the relatives only won't be there, so with whom will he share? So the second point he states is, with whom will I share my victory? What is the use of such kind of a victory when all my kinsmen are going to go away? So please, oh Krishna, you know everyone's mind, so why don't you understand my mind? Why don't you understand that I don't want to go ahead and fight? This was the second reason. The first reason was his compassion. The second reason was he was foreseeing that there is no enjoyment in such kind of a victory. So this was the second reason. The third reason was the fear of committing sin. So Arjuna was saying that I'll kill so many people, my soldiers and all the soldiers of the Kauravas. But what is the outcome of such a heinous thing? It's such a cruel thing. Killing everybody. It's such a cruel thing. How can I do that, Krishna? So he goes on to say that if we slay such aggressors, sin will overcome us. What should we gain, O Madhava? And how could we be happy by killing our own men, our own kinsmen? So here we will read a little bit in the purport. This is an important purport. So I'll read the words. Papam evashraye dasman hatvetan atatayinah tasman naraha vayam hantum dhartarashtran sabandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhinah syam madhava. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? Kinsmen. So, sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. This is an important line. You can mark this line. And Prabhupada gives us the 6 kinds of aggressors. We should remember this. There are 6 kinds of aggressors. The first one is one who gives poison, a poison giver. Second one is one who sets fire to the house. Then one who attacks with deadly weapons. Then one who plunders riches. Then one who occupies another's land. And one who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting any ordinary man. But Arjuna was not an ordinary person. He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a Kshatriya. You see, this is an important line. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. So when a Kshatriya starts behaving like this, he is not a saint, he is a coward. Okay? Why? Because a Kshatriya doesn't do this out of his own personal motives. He does it to protect the people. As I said, the meaning of Kshatriya, the Shat means harm, so Kshatriya, Triya means protect. One who protect others from getting harmed. So a Kshatriya has to do such killings. So Arjuna was not going to do this because he was a devotee, but he couldn't, he had to do his swadharma. His dharma is to act like a Kshatriya. And if a Kshatriya does these things, then he is not a saint. He is a coward. Prabhupada writes over here, cowardly. He should not be saintly. He is actually being coward. So you see the 6 kind of aggressors. So these people were not very good. Arjuna was fighting, and these people, they were not good. So they should be killed. But Arjuna was so compassionate that he was not going ahead with killing them. Okay. Then there is another very important point over here. Yeah, this one. Arjuna's addressing of Krishna as Madhava, or the husband of the goddess of fortune, is also significant. Why is Krishna called Madhava over here? Why? Because Arjuna wanted to point out to Krishna that as the husband of the goddess of fortune, he should not induce Arjuna to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to say nothing of his devotees. So that is why he is called over here Madhav. Madhav means one who is the husband of the goddess of fortune. So Arjuna says this, O Madhava. Why? Because he actually wanted to say that Krishna should not induce Arjuna to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. You are Madhava. You are the husband of the goddess of fortune. How can you tell me? How can you inspire me or tell me or instruct me to do such a thing which will make me which will bring misfortune? Actually, Krishna cannot bring misfortune to anyone. Prabhupada mentions over here. But Arjuna addressing him like this means that he is actually telling him that please don't tell me to do this thing. Oh Madhav, you are this goddess, you are the husband of the goddess of fortune. How can you tell me to do such things? As Madhava, Dhava, again I have to tell you, Madhava. Ma is Lakshmi, okay, and Dhava is husband. Madhava, husband of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. So Arjuna wanted Krishna not to instigate a war. As I told you, instigate is the correct word. I was thinking of the correct word, instigate. Arjuna he was wanting to tell Krishna that Krishna, I don't want you to instigate me to instigate a war that brings misfortune. So you are Madhav, you cannot bring misfortune to anyone. Then why are you instigating a war over here? This was the third reason. which Arjuna gives for not fighting. So here you see how, I mean, although it's the obligation of a Kshatriya not to refuse to battle or gamble, Arjuna considered it better not to accept it. He just doesn't want to fight. Arjuna is so, insistent on this particular thing. He says that in the 37th and the 38th verse, we will see the next two verses. What is the time? It's 5:10. We will finish this chapter, then we'll start with the second chapter next time. So this is the verse. यद्यप्येते न पश्यन्ति लोभपहत चेतसः कुलक्षय कृतं दोषं मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम् कथं न ज्ञेयम् अस्माभिः पापाद् अस्मान् निवर्तितुं कुलक्षय कृतं दोषं प्रपश्याद्भिः जनार्दन. So Arjuna says over here, O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? So Krishna over here, Arjuna over here says the fourth reason. No, this is the third reason continuing. The third reason, fear of sinful action. So Arjuna says over here that these greedy men, they see no fault in killing us. Okay, they don't see anything. Their hearts are overtaken by greed. You see? But O Janardana, why will we also do such things? Why will we also indulge in sin like this? So he doesn't want to go ahead and commit a sin. So then in the 39th verse we will see how Arjuna says that with the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. Kulakshaye pranashyanti kula dharma sanatanaha dharme nashte kulam kritsnam adharmo bibhyavatyuta. So here we will see the fourth reason, and the fourth reason was the harmful effects of destroying the family. Kulakshaya means destruction of the dynasty. Kula means family and Kshaya means destruction. So when the family is destroyed, when the family traditions are stopped, when irreligion is increased, when women become polluted, then what happens? Unwanted progeny is, there is Varna Shankara. Unwanted progeny means what will happen? The Varnashram is destroyed. Why? Because women become unprotected because their husbands die. So they become unprotected, and then there is a possibility that they will be exploited by other men. So what will happen? Because of that exploitation, the Varnashram system gets destroyed. There is Varna Shankara. There is Varna Shankara means the whole family, it gets destroyed. It gets contaminated. So this is what happens. The elders in the family in the Varnashram system, they are responsible for the right conduct of younger family members. And when the elders will die in this battlefield, then what will happen? The family traditions will stop and religious habits will start developing, and then there is very less chances of spiritual salvation. And what will happen? Chaste women, they are engaged in different family traditions of religious activities. They will give birth to a good population, which is the basis. This is the basis of peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress. So, chaste women means women who are very much devoted to their husbands. So, I would like to point out over here that Srila Prabhupada had said that the strength of a man lies in his brahmacharya, and the strength of a woman lies in her chastity. The man, if he is very celibate, he is very powerful, and the woman, if she is very chaste, she is very powerful. Chaste means very much devoted to her husband. So when the husbands will die in the battlefield, then the women will have no husbands. So what will happen? Anything can happen to those women. So the chastity of the women will get destroyed. and then the women will become less powerful. They will give birth to children who are not from the, I mean, out of marriage or something like that. So what will happen? The whole lineage will get destroyed. The caste system will get destroyed. Kula means the auspicious ceremony of marriage sanctioned. Marriage is sanctioned by the demigods also. So when the husbands are going to die, then the women will become unprotected. So how strange it would be to kill such men and cause this Varna Shankara to happen. This is what Arjuna says. And then he goes on to describe, when irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. As I told you, an increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. This is also very important. Here I have to say something. No, I told you. This is what is going to happen when women lose their chastity. The whole lineage gets destroyed. So as women, we have this huge responsibility of taking care of the progeny. But if the progeny is only contaminated, then this is what happens. The whole tradition, the family tradition, gets corrupted. And then by the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by the cyclic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. So from the 44, 45, 46, these verses actually tell us how Arjuna is so careful in not destroying the family traditions. He is very committed to his family, and he is telling Krishna that please don't let this happen. How strange it would be that it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Mahat papam, he says, Mahat papam. Why we are doing this? Because we want to enjoy royal enjoyment. Rajas Sukha Lobena. We want to enjoy something. We want to get victorious, and we want to enjoy the victory. And then he says that better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. This is the most, I would say, very negative, very coward kind of statement which a Kshatriya can say. That let them kill me. I don't want to fight. Let them come and kill me. I give up. He says that I give up. I quit. Even if Arjuna is disinclined to fight, the Kauravas is inclined to fight and kill him. But Arjuna prefers to die in their hands without opposition, considering it as atonement for the sin of thinking of killing the relatives. Arjuna is so pure, he's so compassionate, and he's so nice that he says that I thought of killing my relatives. I did such a big act, a sinful act. It's better as my prayashchitta. My relatives should come and kill me. This is the final thing which he says. And then what happens? He cast aside his bow and arrows, and he sat down on the chariot with his mind overwhelmed with grief. Such a kind, soft-hearted and non-violent person like Arjuna is fit to receive self-knowledge by inquiring about Atma, and not one who is cruel and violent. So what we learn from this whole series of statements given by Arjuna is that Arjuna was a very pure devotee, and he deserves to be given the knowledge of the supreme knowledge, the Bhagavad Gita, which Krishna actually starts speaking to him, and these were the reasons which he told. And then finally he just Sanjay said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. While observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. And that is what happened to Arjuna when we see in the next chapter. So this was the first chapter where we saw the reasons of Arjuna not fighting, Arjuna's reasons not to fight, and then we also saw the various names of Krishna, the meanings of those names, like we saw the meaning of Rishikesha, we saw the meaning of Madhava, we saw the meaning of Govinda, we learned about the 6 kinds of aggressors, and then we also saw how the strength of women, the chastity of women, is the basis of a rich and traditional, a rich and royal family lineage. And we also learnt how Srila Prabhupada had given us this statement that the strength, the power of a man lies in his brahmacharya, and the power of a woman lies in her chastity. So these were the 4 reasons. So the next chapter is the chapter where the summary of the Gita is done. It's a very long chapter, but we will cover this up by breaking them into small parts. So I went a bit fast, but I wanted to complete this chapter. So I hope it's so. Haribol, any questions or any comments or feedbacks? Yes, Paramita.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Am I audible, Mataji?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I have a question that in verse number 28, 29, and 30, what are the characteristics of Arjuna? I mean, is it a 5 or 8? I mean, the bodily characteristics.
8.
8.
Yeah, 8.
Okay. Okay, Mataji. And in the last 46, it is written that the self knowledge. But is it actually self knowledge because Krishna was the teacher? So it is the knowledge that is received from the Guru or the Krishna, I think, because it is not the self knowledge. Self knowledge is like something that we get by our own experience. But if the teacher is present there, then it is the teaching and we are able to receive that teaching. Is it something like that?
No, here self knowledge means knowledge of the soul. Here self is being
Oh,
addressed as Atma, Atma Tattva.
okay,
So here self means knowledge of the soul, self knowledge, knowledge of the
okay,
soul. Not like we
okay.
use the word self study,
Ah,
not like that. I understood. It's
got
a
it,
good
got it.
question.
Thank you, Mataji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anything else? Anything which you liked or any comment? Okay, then we can end the class. Thank you so much for attending the class, and thank you for your patience to bear with me with the technical issues. So next week we will continue with we'll start with the second chapter, and today I couldn't do the diacritics portion, but next week we will do the diacritics, the verse recitation part. So let's do the Vaishnava Pranam mantra. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Antakoti Vaishnava ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.